I'm Hunter Wade at the Athletes Lounge podcast. I'm here with my guest, Coach Kyle Brasher of Gibson Sun and Girls Basketball. How you doing, Coach?
Doing well. How about yourself, Hunter?
Doing good. So just to start with, we're filming this on the 6th, and your first game is tomorrow against Castle. How you feeling going into that game?
Anytime we love playing Castle first game. Anytime you can go and play a team by Coach Meyer, they're going to show you a lot of what you're not very good at. They're always super competitive, super athletic, and it's going to be a fun competition to go out. And we feel like we know what we need to make sure we're working on and getting at. But that first game against Castle, we're going to find out quickly. So we like to jump out of the gate against one of the best teams perennially in the area.
So at what point, in the off-season period, did you kind of get all your girls together for the first time? 'Cause I know volleyball sometimes delays who you get.
So we have several athletes who play fall sports. Our soccer team had a great season this year. Several volleyball players, some cross country runners. So we didn't technically get everybody to the first day of practice. So that first day is always fun to get everybody in the gym. First time we've all been together technically since the summer. So we get a chance to really see what have they worked on the off season, what have they gotten better at, and then kind of how can we take their strengths and put them in for the betterment of the team and to make ourselves the best version that we can be.
So, in my opinion, you have a very talented group this year. You have a lot of experience and people that just play outside the school realm so much that they're just seasoned. How does this team you think stack up to some of the previous teams and some of the previous talents you've had?
I think the thing this team has is we got some shot making ability from our guards that we haven't really seen. At least I haven't really seen on what Gabby Spink and Chloe Graham are able to do right now. Now they were obviously we had both of them last year, but I think what people are going to see is the work they put in the off season. And what we're really excited about, we got a incoming freshman named Paige Schnaus, who's going to kind of stretch the floor in different ways for us. When I say stretched, I shouldn't necessarily say stretch the floor because Gabby was going to change the geometry of the court with what she can do on the low block. And we're very deep. We got a lot of girls, 5 juniors, 2 seniors. Our sophomore class is pretty talented. Got a couple girls dressed in varsity there. Really talented freshman class. I think the thing this team is we talk a lot about the depth that we have right now in our program. And I think we don't really have a whole as much slippage when we get to our 8, 9, 10, 11 girls as what we have traditionally seen in the past.
And spawning off a couple of questions. Yeah, when I was there in 19, you had Meredith Rayleigh, which means you could do a
Hmm.
lot of stuff in the post.
Oh
And
yeah.
And then, so that's kind of a departure from, I guess, maybe do you prefer to play post or do you prefer perimeter centric? Or is it, I mean, I know it's personnel based, but how do you
Hmm.
prefer just naturally?
I mean, obviously, personnel based. You're going to figure out what are your team strengths. With Braley, we knew her junior year, the first year we had her, she was definitely more of a traditional, not traditional, but more of a post player, could step out and drive. And then it was fun seeing her game evolve in her senior year to where she could then step out. She became almost a 40% 3-point shooter as a senior. And at times it was like, man, just shoot a couple more threes per game. And that's where it is. Honestly, I can coach. I feel like as our staff, we can coach whatever is going to be best suited for our team. I don't really have one preferred style over the other. It's just we're all about trying to win basketball games, whatever the talent is we have.
So, kind of talk about the depth. A lot of schools in this area kind of struggle with depth just in numbers in general. They can, maybe they'll get, 12 to 14, and that's what their numbers in. What do you think's been, I guess, the strength or at least the appeal of the program where you're able to bring back so many girls each year and get, good numbers?
Yeah, we got 25 girls this year. It's probably the most we've had. I have to go back and check my records. That first year we were around there as well, but 25 is a bunch. It's exciting. I think there's a lot of buzz to want to be around our program with the success that our girls have had, not only on the court, but we try to make it an enjoyable experience for them as well. We all understand that odds are none of these young ladies are probably making millions of dollars playing basketball as they get older. So we want them to look back upon their experience with fond memories. But I think one thing is that is really big for our program is our feeder system. Our practicing for the future program. It's now it probably in its eighth or ninth year, so that means our freshmen, sophomores went through the whole program all the way through. And with that, there's just a big love for basketball from that feeder system. Our program traditionally, you go back to the inception of the school, we've won sectional almost every decade, multiple sectionals every decade. It seems like it's just there's kind of a tradition established now that Gibson Southern girls basketball is going to typically be a force to be reckoned with.
And first off, how proud are you that you've been able to develop this kind of, where you guys are pretty much sectional contenders? It feels like year in, year out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's at the end of the day, we coaches play a role. I feel like, but we can only work with what we got. So I think a lot of that credit goes to the work of the girls, what they're putting in the off season, that their willingness to come to practice and work and get better. Because we challenge them on a daily basis, challenge them sometimes physically, sometimes mentally, just to see what are we made of in those areas. But yeah, anytime our coaching staff has huge pride in our program, and there's some pressure there from the previous coaches, from Coach Monroe to Coach Blackard. They've set the bar of what it means to kind of be the head coach of the Lady Titans. So that pressure's there to try to fulfill those standards that they've set.
So this is kind of a double-sided question. You've coached both boys and girls. So
Mhm.
what's the big difference in between coaching boys and girls, if there is any?
I think the big at the end of the day, you're coaching basketball, and that's the one thing when I took the job, everyone's like, "You're coaching basketball. You shouldn't change the way you coach your philosophy." I think the biggest difference I've noticed is girls are a little bit more coachable, almost to a fault at times. We'll draw a play up, and if they would just make a slight adjustment, they would have probably have an open layup. And we'll talk about it afterwards. And several of them are like, well, that's not what you had me diagrammed on the play to do. And we talk about, well, we can get a layup. We'll always take a layup. I think boys sometimes, I mean, I was a high school boys basketball player. Sometimes we think we know it all. And they don't always feel that way. They're a little bit more willing to listen to what their coaches have to say.
Like boys react a little bit more just naturally than girls do, and
Yeah.
girls try to follow the
They
coach's
want to follow. They want to
drawings.
follow the plan a little bit more, not as much freelancing. But I'm trying to encourage a little bit more freelancing because they're the ones playing the game. I want them to know that I trust the decisions they're making, and they're going to always go out and do. I know it's for the betterment for them and the team.
As a coach, does it help does having people like Gabby and Chloe help encourage freelancing when you know they can get away with freelancing because they're so talented?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think, and it's not necessarily we in our practices within our offensive scheme. While it may look like freelancing per se, there are specific principles that they're supposed to be doing. It's not just throw a ball out there, let them go play, but we allow them the freedom to go make some more free decisions because of the work they put in, because of the competition they play against in the summer, the training that they do. They're very well equipped to go do that. And I think what the other girls see, they see the work they're doing, and they're like, "Hey, I want to put in that work too. I want to be able to do the same ability, not only the high school girls, but our middle school and elementary girls." It's kind of rubbing off all the way through our program, all the way down to our elementary grades.
Kind of speak about that. How much control is not the right word. How much influence do you have over the lower elementary, middle school, up to, varsity?
Well, the great thing is, by the time I got in, our practicing for the future crew, they had been involved for a long time already, and I was kind of hitching my coat to their coattails because they do a great job. Uh, I allow those they have autonomy over everything they do, just because I've seen their practice plans, I've seen what they do, and they have what I think is the best interest for our community and our programs at large. So I think the areas I try to help in is our middle school coaches if they need help with running our offense, implementing our defensive principles, our travel school coaches. Is there any kind of hit quick hitters that we can talk about or different things? But at those younger levels, it's solely focused on the fundamentals. And those ladies, they come in with those fundamentals, and that's great to see.
Kind of going back to how much have you think you've evolved as a coach over the years?
I think a lot, actually. I think about where I was 10, 15 years ago. I think the thing that I've grown the most in and have evolved the most, I guess I should say, is just I'm a little more open to change. I used to be, we're going to run man to man defense 99.999% of the time. We're going to do it this way. Now I'm a little more willing to, hey, how can maybe we can attack it this way? Um, I'm just more willing to grow in those regards. I'm not as staunch in my ways.
Wow, I've heard that bell before.
You've heard,
I
yeah.
just had a flashback. The
You're about to
what
have an announcement here. All
get to
right.
the office. The what when did you decide you wanted to become a coach? Was that something you kind of like as a kid you kind of knew you wanted to do, or what point did you, I guess, have an interest in basketball and then have an interest in coaching?
So I always loved basketball. I played like like most kids, played basketball, baseball growing up. Played high school basketball. Played a year of college basketball. And I'm gonna say I really got an interest into it my first year at IU, my sophomore year. And that year, I did some volunteer coaching at the Bloomington Boys and Girls Club. Loved that experience with basically fourth and fifth graders. And then I spent the next 3 summers coaching the Evansville Basketball Club. I was a volunteer assistant coach under Aaron Thompson there, and had just a great time doing that. Continued doing the Bloomington Boys and Girls Club. I changed my major to teaching. I was like, hey, I kind of like doing this. And I kind of from there, after I spent 3 years at Evansville Basketball Club, I then went to Bossy High School, back to my alma mater. Coach was Shane Burkhart there. And I guess from there on, just been in coaching ever since.
You, and I guess coming off of that, how much? I mean, obviously you enjoy it, but I had you in English class.
Hmm.
You come across as very energetic in class, which is a good thing. And do you think what do you think comes more naturally to you? I guess, or is like I'm trying to think how to word this. You're energetic in class, and you're energetic coaching. Is that just a natural? Are you just naturally, energetic? And I, I'm trying to word it right. It's a
Yeah,
good thing.
I think it's something that I just when I'm involved in something, I like to be all in. If I'm not all in, if I'm not enjoying it, then I don't really want to spend my time doing that. I'm just a naturally excitable person. Um, and I feel like I'm a big believer in that if the leader can kind of set the tone of what the emotion's going to be, the energy of the room's going to be, that people will kind of follow that. And as the program leader of the program, I want to make sure that I bring that energy that's needed for the to do that. So yeah, I think I'm natural now. I'm just like everybody else. We're going to have those days where the energy is not necessarily there, but I think the important thing is to be self-aware enough to know that when those days arrive, that you kind of have to find something within you to bring that energy much more. But with the players we have, the coaching staff we have, they make it very easy to bring the energy that's needed every day.
And that was meant to I kind of butchered my question there. This was meant to transition into your teams play very, gritty. There's a lot of high energy plays. And is that something you try to install into them?
Oh, 100%. We try to put them in as many adverse situations as possible, whether it's we put our varsity girls in a 7-on-5 drill where our JV girls have 7 defenders and we're trying to break a 7-girl press, or 8 minutes left in the game, we're down by 20. We want to prepare them as much as possible for adverse, difficult situations because we understand that we're going to face those in games. We're going to ultimately face those in life, and it's not what it the event isn't going to make the outcome. It's our reaction to it. Are we going to react to it in a negative way? Then it's going to be a negative event, negative result. But if we attack it, it may not always be the result we want. We did the down by 20 with 8 minutes one day, and we didn't get we didn't win the game. But what we talked about is what can we learn from that? I think we all agreed we didn't attack it with the type of force we needed to from the get go. So we try to put them in unique situations that they won't see in the game. So when they do face tough situations, they're ready for them.
You, as a coach, how big are you on camaraderie?
Oh, I'm huge in camaraderie. We try to develop as strong of a culture as possible. I think if I had to list what I think is a strength of my coach, because I don't know if I'm necessarily the greatest X's and O's coach. I don't know if I'm necessarily the greatest at diagramming plays or whatnot. But I think something that I take great pride in is trying to install the best culture possible. Now, I'm not naive enough to, I do realize at times I have shortcomings in that as well. And we've had teams in the past that I've been part of that I thought maybe our culture could have been better. But it's not due to lack of trying or lack of effort. We do various things to try to bring the girls together from like we were supposed to go to the Hoosier Gym this Saturday. That's just a unique experience, but our football team's having great success. So we made a change. We do fun team events when we can. Like in the past, we've gone to Bob Walters and We had a pasta cooking competition at ours one year, a local restaurant here in Fort Branch. We have weekly leadership sessions through a program called Lead 'em Up. We definitely our coaching staff puts a high value on uh, culture and kind of who we are as people.
So, how much preparation for each game? How much tape, film tape do you watch for for an average opponent? Like how much would you watch for North Posey on November 10th?
North Posey and Castle are always our tough ones because Castle's got one game before we play them, and North Posey, we're always North Posey's
Yeah,
first game. Um, I always try to get at least two, if not three or four games in of every opponent. Now, you're talking about average opponents. Obviously, a team like Memorial, who is we played in the sectional, I think
yeah.
almost every year. I've been here now. We probably watch almost every game of theirs all season long. But like for Castle, for instance, we watched their Jeff game. We watched a couple games from the last season. Uh, and it's just one of those things that now in this day and age with Huddle and different technological methods, it makes it a little bit easier to get your hands on that film than it would have been 20, 30 years ago. But it's all about that preparation. We want to make sure we're as prepared as we can be, go through their tendencies, go through, I think that's actually what I've been doing last night, some this morning, getting ready for practice this afternoon. We got to go through our scout. We have a scout we go through with the girls, has personnel, just to be as prepared as we can for all these matchups.
You have a very tough, part of the schedule where it's Lawrence North, Memorial, Fishers is actually before Lawrence North, right? That's a tournament, right?
Well, so it was
Yeah,
supposed to be Fishers, but Fishers, we our schedule got changed because La Lumiere had to get out of the North Classic. So it's Vincennes Lincoln on Tuesday, Franklin County, Kentucky, out of Franklin County
yeah.
in where Frankfort's located, and then that's on Friday. Lawrence North on Saturday, Memorial on Tuesday.
Okay.
So it's a heck of a 4 game stretch
Yeah.
there for us.
Yeah, so even excluding Fishers and then South Spencer, Pike Central, and Roncalli, that's a very tough slate. Was that by design? That it was it designed to be
Absolutely,
tough? Yeah.
yeah, 100%. I feel like every year we've been here, which is this is my sixth season now. We try to every season make our schedule the best, the toughest schedule it can be. What we talk about is we like to invite failure opportunities. Now, we hope as a staff we go out and we don't fail. And we obviously win all of them, but we want to go out and we want to challenge our young ladies. We want to challenge us as a staff to see what are we made of. We want to play the best teams not only in our area but in the state, so that when tournament time rolls around, we know what are the things we got to do to beat the best. I'd rather learn those things in December and January than in February.
Do you use I always ask coaches this, and there's different answers. Do you use the regular season as a tune-up for sectionals to make sure all your stuff's working, or obviously you want to win every game. That's an obvious.
Mhm.
But how much stock do you put into regular season wins and losses, or how, as opposed to just making sure your stuff runs right and that you can, counter stuff other teams throw at you?
I think you got to find a healthy blend. I think a lot of it depends where your program's at. Um, you got to go out and win games still, because if you're not winning games, then people are going to start checking out. They're going to wondering why are we working on this, why we're doing that. So you got to have an emphasis on winning. But I still feel like for us, where we're at in our program right now, uh, we put we look at the regular season as we want to go out and win. But if we do, when we're probably going to lose a couple games this season. When that happens, we want to make sure how it's all about how we react to it. If we view it as a negative that the world's going to end, then it's going to be tough to rebound from that. But if we look at it as a learning experience, and that we in this game we didn't do, maybe we didn't block out well, or maybe we didn't handle ball screens well, or whatever it may be. If we can learn that and we can bring into practice and get better and see improvement from, I think that's the thing. Whenever you do have lose a game, you got to somehow find something to measure improvement over the next game, two, three stretch of games that we may have. Because what these teenagers need to see is they need to see improvement. If you could show them that, I think they'll end up buying into what you're wanting to do.
Yeah. So, how deep do you like to play during an average game, an average competitive game? Do you like 7, 8? How deep do you like to use the bench?
I ideally we're eight, maybe nine. And those 8, 9 girls, they're not going to play as much as the top five, six, seven, but I feel like you need to keep I like to keep 8 and 9 engaged in case you get foul trouble or
Yeah.
injuries or something in the third and fourth quarter. So ideally 8 to 9. Now last when we won sectionals in 22, we were basically especially when Ava Whiteside went down, we are basically playing 6.
Yeah.
Uh, when we went our first year with Rayleigh, we were playing 7-8. So it kind of just depends on your makeup and personnel. On this team, I mean, we've got, in my opinion, 10, 11 girls that could be in a rotation. And that's the hard part is when you have girls who are talented, who have put in the work, and it's just in their current situation, unfortunate for them, they haven't gotten that opportunity yet. But we just keep reminding them of the process. And at some point, their time's going to come. They're going to be ready for it.
You mentioned Meredith Really again. That kind of brings me. You mentioned how good of a shooter she became.
Hmm.
And evidently that was sustainable. But when someone who's usually not a good shooter, starts to shoot it well, do you prefer to ride the hot hand, or do you think everything just comes back to the mean anyway? So you just try to keep the system a little bit similar.
I think when you go into the game, you start with who has basically based off stats, who has that season done a good job of hitting their shots, percentages. But I think once you get into that game, you kind of have to ride who's got the hot hand. So I mean, we look at our situation with Gabby and Chloe, who I can't really tell you right now, last second of the game, who I call the play
Yeah.
for. It probably just depends who's shooting well that game. It could be either of them. It could be Lydia Maurer. We in our situation of the day, Lydia Maurer had a 3 to give her team a win. You look at what she did against Chittard last year. Had a bunch of big shots. Lord Amston did a game-winning shot against Chittard. And I think that's what's exciting about this team. You see what Nola did in our semi-state game last year, where she willed us back with a couple of corner threes against Corden. We've got options, many options on our team to where if 1, 2, heck, even 3 girls aren't hitting, we're going to have other girls that have the ability to step up. And that's the neat part with this group we have this season.
And I guess I can bring my next question. When you have two people that are, we'll call them premier talents, how do you make sure you keep everyone on offense engaged so you just don't have someone sitting in the corner waiting for the ball for, the whole game?
Well, it helps when Gabby Spink's your point guard, and she's
Yeah.
got great court vision. But we run a freestyle system. I mean, we like to average 60, 70, 75 points a game if we could.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of points to go around. So we run a freestyle system. We talk a lot about we are good with our girls taking almost any shot they want as long as it's within the flow of the offense and they're in rhythm. Very rarely have I ever gotten on to a girl. I can't think of a single situation off the top of my head. I'm not going to say it hasn't happened. It probably has. We encourage them that if they put in the work and we're comfortable with their shots, we talk about the shots we're good with them taking. Let it fly. So that's something we really focus on, spreading the ball around. We have a team goal this year of averaging 15 to 16 assists a game. So all the girls are on board with what our goals are this season.
And I guess, yeah, I kind of forgot what Gabby is the point guard. So that kind of helps ease that issue. And you've had post based offenses before, and that's a little bit
Mhm.
bigger of an issue when you have had post based in terms of moving the ball sometimes. But the
Yeah, we've been very fortunate when we've had post players like Rayleigh, Carson Cruz a couple years ago. They were still great passers,
yeah,
willing passers as well.
which is
And I
and
think a lot of that's got to come back into your film sessions as well. You got to highlight in those film sessions when the girl makes the right decision and makes that extra pass. You got to work on it in practice. We have a lot of drills where we're working on making that extra pass to ensure that the ball's getting touching everybody's hands.
do you prefer when your team shoots threes, do you prefer the pass be from around the perimeter, or do you have a preference to post to perimeter passing that leads to a three?
In my opinion, the highest percentage three is an offensive rebound kick out three.
Hmm.
Now, if it's a wide open layup, we want them to take that. But I think if we can get in the paint and kick it out, whether it's in the paint via the dribble, the pass, or an offensive rebound, that's the highest percentage. Or a skip from like one wing to the
Yeah.
next.
Anything that limits closeouts.
Yes.
The and what skill is your biggest skill for a player to get playing time? Is it being a junkyard dog, hustling? Is it what's the biggest thing to get playing time with you?
That's tough. There's a lot of
Yeah.
things I think that are important as a basketball player. Right now, I'm thinking about Castle. So I'm going to say the ability to guard your yard, to keep your girl in front of you. Because if they break down that first level of defense, that just puts everybody into a flux. We're in scramble mode. We're closing out hard. Now we're out of position rebounding. That and the ability to handle the basketball. I listened to Coach Fakar Malone at Oakland City talk this summer at our camp, and she's a big believer that if you can dribble, you can play anywhere. And never thought of it that way. She really opened my eyes to that, and I think it's something she speaks a lot of truth there. Because if you can't dribble it, you're a liability on the court every time you touch the ball. So
Yeah.
uh, those two things, I don't know if I could pick one or the other because they're both so important.
Do you have any I guess issue getting your girls to watch basketball? Now you have Chloe and Gabby play so much and only it pretty much becomes like a non-issue with them. But I've talked to a lot of coaches where they have issues in getting their girls to watch basketball and they think it affects performance. Have you seen any of that from your position?
I know the thing I know they're watching is I know they're watching Huddle.
Yeah.
Um, and I think the big reason for that is our girls have big goals, big dreams, and they understand they're looking for any single advantage they can get, physical advantage, mental advantage. And if one of those advantages is having to watch film, needing to watch film, getting to watch film, then they're going to take every advantage they can get in that.
So I guess I'll ask this, and I will have to ask this on their side. What's it like when you see when you see Memorial so much and they're such a consistently tough opponent? How do you, I guess, prep for them every time you face them? Because they change, they evolve. They evolve too. You get different players each year. How does it? What's it like to play a team like that consistently, where it's a pretty close game when you guys match up against each other?
We love going against Memorial every year because we believe that the best teams bring out the best in you. And Memorial is, I mean, perennially, probably the track record wise, they've won state titles, they've won a lot of sectionals. They just have a great tradition of winning. Coach Ocker does a great job of figuring out what are we not very good at and exposing that. And it's kind of a little bit of a chess match back and forth between two of us all season long. It's great. It's great fun going against them. The crowds love those games. It's always a lively atmosphere.
At at this stage, I guess at this point in the season, we're still in preseason, kind of. What is your goal for this season? Your ultimate goal? Obviously, it's win state, but what's your like first goal this season?
Well, we want to compete for championships. So with that being said, our first goal is always to win Toyota. That's the first time we have a chance to win a championship. And then we want to, obviously, a season long goal is to win the PAC. We haven't won the PAC here since 2019, 2020, somewhere around there. So we want to compete for championships. And we talk about the only way you can compete for championships is if you have a champion mindset every day. You can't decide one day on be a champion and the next day not show up being a champion. So we just want to do the best we can every day and have that champion mindset day in, day out.
What's your kind of winding down here? What's your average practice? I guess weekly practices look like at this point in the season.
So right now we're almost a quarter of the way through the season already, which is kind of crazy. So we always start at 2 hours and then we do that for 3 or 4 weeks. And we bump it down to an hour and 45, do that for 3 or 4 weeks, go down an hour and a half. And then we'll end the season. By the time sectionals goes around, we're going hour and 15, hour and 20.
So
The girls by that point have had a lot of wear and tear on their bodies, and we want to try to minimize that as much as possible.
So what as a, what do you kind of work on those times? Obviously, you prepare for the other team, but I guess what are the drills, just the drills that you work on most? Do you do a lot of shooting drills? Do you do a lot of, what's
We
no, go
we
on,
always
sir.
start practice with some sort of individual drill, whether it's working on ball handling, working on shooting. We're big believers in that if we can all improve individually, that we will improve collectively. Then by that point, so we're always trying to ensure that each individual girl is getting better and improving. After that, we're working on team concepts, whether it's the last couple of weeks focusing more on us, making sure our sets are in, we're running on crisp. Now it's starting today. We're going to be, I guess, starting a little bit last week as well. We started really focusing on Castle. What do we think Castle's going to do? Get ready for this Castle game. And then we got to have a quick turnaround. We'll have one day to really get ready for North Bosie and then playing them Thursday night. And then we have one day to get ready for Chittard. The good thing is if you can get ready for Castle, you can get ready for almost any team on your schedule because they're going to throw a lot of ball pressure at you that you usually don't see very much.
That's really all I have prepared question wise. If you want to shout out any one staff, you want to shout out any dates, feel free to.
All right. Well, our coaching staff, we got a great coaching staff. JV coaches Ron Colley. Our varsity assistants are Anna Hackert and Kelsey Lena Weber. They do a great job helping us out. They're some of those salty earth type of people who you want to surround yourself with. Some important dates coming up. Trying to think here. We're supposed to go to the Hoosier Gym this Saturday. We're going to Chittard. So if there's any Titan fans out there listening, you can go see the late Titan basketball play at 10 a.m. on Saturday, and then make the little 35-minute drive up to Tri West and watch football team at 2. We tip at 10 our time. We tip off our first game at home is in a week from today, from tomorrow, the 14th against Forest Park. Other big events, we got our annual Coaches versus Cancer game on Saturday, January 14th. It's against Washington. We'd love to have a big crowd, raise some money for some good causes there in cancer research. So, other than that, we check out our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We've got lots of great. That's how you keep up to date on all the information when our games are, and we're pretty social on there. So,
Well, I've been Hunter Wade at the Athletes Lounge podcast, and thanks for coming on, Coach.
thanks. I appreciate you having us.
Hey guys, this is Hunter Wade at the Athletes Lounge podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe where you can. Thanks.